Ya na 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 na. Ya na na na. You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. Good morning, everybody. I share with you a quick idea from this morning's Parsha that I hope is instructive for us in our lives in general. You know, when you grow up and you get married, you inherit a set of parents. And I've been told, it was never the case with me, but I have been told by others that sometimes daughter-in-laws have a difficult time figuring out how to address their mother-in-laws. Now, I know from personal experience that I would prefer if my children's spouses were to call me dad. I like that. I like the familiarity of it. But I know that in general it can be a difficult thing because our in-law children already have a mom and a dad. And so to call mom or dad somebody else seems somewhat an act of infidelity of sorts, a lack of understanding. And so I know that there have been times, because people have told me this story, that daughter-in-laws simply don't address their mother-in-laws. And they do a variety of things in order to get their attention if they want to speak to them. And so they'll look around, they'll make a look, right, to get their attention because it's difficult. It's more complicated today because everybody goes by first names today. And it seems somewhat odd for a child to refer to someone of their parents' generation by their first name, at least for those of us in the room today. Our children don't seem to have any problem referring to everybody by their first name, even their teachers, which is, I think, an unfortunate state of affairs because it shows a lack of respect that I think we have lost in our society in general, but I have to tell you, I don't think it's because we've started calling people by their first names. I think the lack of respect in our society is something entirely different, but that's a sermon for another day. But what I find amazing is the connection that you can have with an in-law that you might not have with a parent. And the reason for that is very simple. There isn't the baggage. So there is this story that is told in which a mother says to her son, who is a grown man, I know you're going outside. Please take a bottle of water with you. It's a hot day. And the son hears the mother saying, you're a child. You don't know what's in your best interest. When in fact the mother is only saying, take a bottle of water. But the son hears something entirely different. She's babying me. She's trying to take control of me. She thinks she's the boss of me, which is a funny thing to say when you're 54 years old. And so the son refuses the mother and says, no, I don't need it. To which the mother pushes a little harder. Watching by is the daughter-in-law who says, just take the bottle of water. What's the big deal? What are you making a thing? To which the husband, son, says it's just her way of trying to control. Now, from the outside, this seems crazy. But if you've ever lived it, it's real. But the outsider, Judy and Andy's having this conversation right now. But the outsider, the daughter-in-law, doesn't come with the same baggage. And so for her, all she hears is an offer of a bottle of water. Not the years of trying to control everything, the way you dress, the way you wear your hair, the school you go to, the career you've chosen. All she hears is a bottle of water. Sometimes it takes a loved one who's just outside to have a little perspective on what's really going on. And everything isn't a substantial statement about what do you believe and what do you think and where is your direction and who is the boss of you. And that's where we begin this morning's Parsha. It's very simple. Vayisaper Moshe lechotno et kol asher asa lefaro l'Mitzrayim, asher asa Adonai lefaro l'Mitzrayim, al odot Yisrael et kol hatla'a asher matzatam b'derech v'atzilim Adonai. Moses goes to his father-in-law and says, look at all these great things that has happened, that God has done for the Jewish people. He's just having a conversation with his father-in-law. I don't think there's anything more to it. I don't think Moses is saying to his father-in-law, who is a Kohen Midian, a priest of Midian, you really ought to believe what I believe. He's just saying, look at this great accomplishment. He wants to impress his father-in-law. After all, don't we all want to impress our father-in-law? To tell them in some way, don't worry, I'm going to care for your daughter. I'll take good care of her. I'll provide for her all the things that you need. I'm not a noch-schlepper. I'm not a nobody. I'm going to accomplish something. And he just shares it with him because of the excitement. There's nothing more to it than that. And Rashi says, Vaysaper Moshe lechodno, Moshe talks to his father-in-law. Limshoch et libo, in order to open his heart. He wants to connect with his father-in-law. You see, we all make mistakes with our parents. We all do it. As we grow up, we say things to our parents we wish we had never said. They begin to think of us a certain way. We get a do-over with our in-laws. We get to be the son we had imagined with our in-laws. We get to be the daughter we wanted to be to our in-laws. Something that the years of damage of having a real father and a real mother, a real son, a real daughter, has done away with. And so Rashi says, Limshoch et libo, to open his heart, to gather him closer, because he wants them to be close to him. They want to meet heart to heart. And then the text goes on. Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midian chotein Moshe et kol asher asa Elohim leMoshe. And Yitro, Moses' father-in-law, the high priest of Midian, heard all that God had done for Moshe and the people of Israel. Ki yotzi Adonai et Yisrael miMitzrayim. And he saw that God had taken the Jewish people out of Egypt. And his very next response is, Vayikach Yitro, Chotein Moshe, Yitro, Moses' father-in-law, takes his daughter at Tzipora, Eshet Moshe, Achar Shlucheha. He takes his daughter, Moses' wife, and says, come on, let's go back. Vet Shnei Vaneha, and he gathers up his two sons, that is Moses' two sons, Gershom and Eliezer, and he says, it's time to go home. Your husband, your father, my son-in-law, it's time for a reunion. It's time for the family to come back together. This opening is to tell us it's a story about family and the ability for family to influence one another. And whether you have moved into the family, married into the family, or you have been raised in that family, we have an extraordinary impact on each other. Says this morning's Parsha in its opening sentences, if you really want to make a difference in people's lives, start with the people in your life. If you want to have an impact on the world, start with your family. If you want the world to be a kinder, gentler, loving place, have compassion on the people around you who are closest to you. The truth is, we have a lot to learn from those in our families of origins. You all know it. It happens immediately as soon as you return to your family of origin. You go back into those exact same patterns that you did when you were little. Grown adults begin to act like children again when they're put in their family of origin because it's a testimony to how powerful your brothers and sisters, your mothers and fathers are in your life. One word from a parent can trigger a behavior in an adult child unlike anything can trigger anything else. Because the power of a parent, the power of a sibling to impact your life is for your entire life. This morning's Parsha, through the eyes of Rashi, says, Kan haya Yitro mitchabed b'Moshe. Moshe is honored by his father-in-law. That's why the text says, Chotein Moshe, Moses' father-in-law. Rashi says, because Yitro had a respect for Moshe. He had a respect for what he had accomplished. And he knew it, he acknowledged it, and he said it to him. And that impact is extraordinary because while he's like a father, he's not actually his father. And so Moses can hear it in a way that he could never possibly have heard it from his own parents. Because there's so much noise and there's so much static in the words that our parents share with us because it comes with the baggage of years. But Moses turns to his father-in-law and he literally has a heart-to-heart conversation in which Moses impacts Yitro and Yitro impacts Moses in an honest and deep way. Wouldn't it be great if we could do that with every member of our family? Wouldn't it be wonderful if when we got together with our siblings, we just didn't reenact the childhood behaviors, in which we could mature into a relationship in where we talked about deep and meaningful things, not just about sports, the size of our hairline, or how much money we make. Says the Torah, we can have real, significant, substantive relationships with our family if we allow it to mature. If we allow ourselves to see each other as people, not brothers who picked on us, or sisters who made fun of us, or screamed at us for taking a blouse. Wouldn't it be great if as adults we could impact each other by having real heart-to-heart conversations with those people who we played with as children and who we grew to mature in life with, who experienced the same losses and enjoyed each other's achievements. This morning's Parsha says family can be incredibly impactful if we allow that relationship to grow, to change, to evolve, to become something significant. Otherwise, we're limiting our sphere of influence and those who can impact us. Moshe and Yitro are a relationship without baggage. So that when Moses' father-in-law says, you've neglected your wife and your children, it's time to come home, Moses says, you're right. And when Moshe says to his father-in-law, you wouldn't believe these unbelievable things that God does for us, Yitro says, wow, that's so true. If we could have that face value relationship that's born of a heart-to-heart conversation, then our lives will be incredibly elevated. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Page 184.